ANC has managed to keep a comfortable majority in the Eastern Cape. The party got close to 63% of votes from this week's local government election. Now that gives the ANC control of 31 councils, but it could end up in coalition agreements in 2 municipalities where it did not win an outright majority. Well, the Eastern Cape residents have for years complained about a lack of decent municipal services, including the provision of water and road infrastructure. Corruption has also been a major issue. Spokesperson for the ANC Youth League in the province, Zuko Kotlimpi, joins us now to talk about the League's take on the situation. Zuko, a very good evening to you. Thank you for your time tonight. So you believe that the ANC has been given basically another chance to redeem itself, and a lot of people are asking why they should believe that when the ANC has, especially in rural and poor communities, consistently under-delivered.
Good evening, Tembi. Thank you for having us tonight. Yes, we do believe that the ANC has been given another chance. And the reason we think that the people should believe that the ANC has the capacity to deliver this time around is not so much what we claim, but what we intend to demonstrate, in the next 5 years. And we as the Youth League have taken the posture that it will have to be us as the Youth League who actively try to get the ANC to do good and make good on its word. So part of what we think will have to happen is that we as the Youth League are going to have to play a leading role in restructuring the ANC strategic approach to governance, the ANC's approach to infrastructure delivery. As you point out, we do have weaknesses in the delivery of water services. We do have weaknesses in the delivery of electricity, roads, infrastructure. There has been work done, but the pace at which we're delivering is slow, and that is what the citizens of the province have been complaining about. And we acknowledge their opinions on the matter. We went on a door-to-door, extensive door-to-door campaign throughout the campaign period, and we saw the state of our roads. A lot of progress has been made. Some road maintenance is done. Some road paving has been done. Some regraveling of roads has been done, but a lot still needs to be done. And we as the Youth League have taken the decision that it will have to be us who are in the forefront of getting things right this time around.
You talk about the ANC Youth League being at the forefront. I mean, the ANC Youth League currently is itself trying to regroup and sort itself out, and you wonder how much influence you guys will have in an organization that at the highest levels is filled with people who've been in government, some since 1994, yet don't seem to be grasping what needs to happen and the rate at which it's needed for people to live decent lives, yet these same communities go out and vote for the ANC every 5 years.
Well, on our part as the Youth League, this campaign season was actually a blessing in disguise because it sort of provided us with substantive ways in which we must revive the Youth League. Yes, the Youth League is currently led by task teams across the province, and it was these task teams that actually got young people to go out and vote for the ANC, and it was these task teams that led the volunteers of the Youth League to interact with communities. So it essentially gave us the capacity to now infuse that experience we got from interacting with communities into our own organizational restructuring process. So we believe that we are actually better positioned now to know exactly what to do once we go to our congresses and get structures elected. And there are deadlines for that. We will be commencing with our annual general meetings, branch general meetings, and the process of going to congresses this month. And I think by March next year, there should be virtually all elected structures of the Youth League across the country. So this experience of participating in a local government campaign will actually go a long way in informing the strategic outlook that the Youth League must assume once it gets to Congress. And yes, we do accept there has to be immediate changes on how the ANC itself interacts with communities. And part of what the Youth League is currently having conversations about is, from the experience we have from this election campaign, what is it that we think we should take into the Youth League congresses and into the ANC to restructure the ANC's organizational systems, to produce a much more responsive ANC, to produce a much more militant outlook on how the ANC deals with community problems. And that is going to be the intervention that the Youth League brings into the life of the youth of the ANC at large. And that also, there is no need to reconsider altogether the ANC's governance system,
Okay.
and whether or not are there no new ways of approaching infrastructure rollout and service delivery as a whole.
Is getting rid of the old people at the top part of that?
Quite certainly, quite certainly. Part of the founding principle of the principles of the Youth League is always to provide dynamic substance to the ANC, and that includes a renewal of its leadership core. And we undoubtedly are going to be engaged in that exercise. We need a responsive leadership, and we do make the argument that the younger elements in the ANC have a much higher propensity to be responsive than the older ones. So, yes, when we go to congresses of the ANC, we're going to be campaigning for a younger leadership. We're going to be campaigning for a leadership that mostly comes from the ranks of the Youth League. It's not so much us who are currently in the Youth League now, but also those who are former leaders of the Youth League, with whom we've shared the same space, with whom we have common experiences, and whose pedigree we understand to be progressive.
But the older comrades in your movement have more reach, have more influence to a certain degree, so what you're saying is not going to be easy to get done, is it?
It's never been easy. Since 1944, the process of transforming the ANC to a much more militant, younger-looking and transformative organization is not an easy exercise. As we did say in the statement that we released this week, we accept that we're going to be met with resistance. We accept that we're going to have to engage with some progressive sections of the ANC, including amongst the older comrades. It will not be a wholesale change, but it has to be a significant change. We need to bring in new blood into the leadership system of the ANC, and with that new blood, we intend to provide new ideas as well and new ways of doing things. It's not going to be an easy process, but it's a process we are prepared to undertake, and will be bruised along the way, but we intend to win.
The criticism again, though, has been that when we have seen cases of former Youth League leaders in particular going and moving up the ranks and becoming government ministers eventually, I'll use the examples of someone such as Malusi Gigaba and Fikile Mbalula, who are former presidents of the Youth League, is that they get there and yes, they may have a lot of excitement around when they start, but quickly morph into the establishment. So that too would require addressing, would it not?
In fact, that experience has given us one perspective. It's not ideal to simply elect people into positions of leadership without buttressing that election with a program of action that is consistent with the outlook that we want. So what we want to do, we will elect younger people into positions of leadership, but we are going to maintain an organizational form of the Youth League that provides the brand of politics, the substance of those politics that we want those individuals to champion. So we are not leaving it just to them to figure out what to do, but we want to maintain a Youth League that has the capacity to guide the ANC strategic thinking on what is it that should be done, so that those individuals, when they get into elected positions, they are not left alone to figure things out on their own, but they must be assisted by a Youth League that can be able to fashion out a comprehensive program of action.
What then should be the consequences to go for leaders who fail to deliver? Because this year alone, people who either voted with the opposition or chose to stay away from voting for the ANC this year and may have done so in previous elections have said they feel as though when they are let down, when roads remain untarred, toilets that they cannot flush because they were not constructed properly, there's no running water, electricity supply is intermittent, people are not punished, or when there appears to be punishment, it simply means they are moved to another position. So what should be the consequences?
Consequence management is a very important part of whatever renewal we are talking about in the ANC. And one of the most effective ways is simply not to elect people who are ineffective. We have no intention of bringing back to power people who have not been able to provide the required leadership in structures of the ANC. Fortunately, in the province, virtually all regional structures of the ANC are going to their regional conferences. All branches are going to be going to their annual general meetings, including the provincial executive committee. We will have to go to a provincial conference soon. So we as the Youth League are going to take a very militant posture against people who are ineffective. That's the one consequence management in elected politics that we are going to have to enforce. Don't bring back to power people who are ineffective.
Let me ask you a question I asked Sikhezi Galala yesterday when we were talking about the ANC's poor showing in KZN, and I asked him about the calls from some corners for the likes of himself and the PEC to resign for A, failing to deliver on basic promises made in 2016, and B, this poor election performance. do you think then resignations by leaders on the back of such things should be on the cards?
Well, the context is different in the Eastern Cape. I wouldn't want to comment about KwaZulu-Natal. That's a different province. But the context in the Eastern Cape
Let's speak broadly about the party itself.
But, okay, broadly, I would say in some instances, yes, you could say a resignation would do, but it doesn't help you understand why you lost. Because if you have a wholesale decline in the performance of the organization, it tells you that there is a strategic weakness on how the party is engaging with governance as a whole. It's not just about the individuals who are at the level of leadership at the time. Yes, they must bear the brunt of criticism and they must take a greater share of the blame. But if you have a party that has been progressively declining over a period of 15 years, surely you have to be asking yourself larger questions than just looking at the incidents of the moment now. So I would say we must be careful not to be overly subjective on our analysis of things. Yes, leaders must take accountability seriously, and they must be the first ones to answer on what went wrong and what is it that they think should be done. But all of us as the ANC, we need to think very seriously about whether or not the ANC since 1994, its strategic approach to governance, its strategic approach to handling the political economy of South Africa has not been misguided.
Suko Kotlimpi from the ANC Youth League in the Eastern Cape. Good to speak to you tonight, sir. Thank you.